Shields up, Ironbreakers, and welcome back to Monster Hunter Wilds. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how multiplayer is going to work on the game based on my experience with the open beta. Now, I know that one of the first questions that people are going to have is whether or not you can play the game completely offline. And the answer to that question, to the best of my knowledge, is yes, you can play the game completely offline. Now, I understand that for the beta, that was not the case, but in my opinion, that was because the purpose of the beta was to stress test the server infrastructure. As a matter of fact, if you actually left your character to idle in camp for a sufficient amount of time, it would actually put you in an offline instance and you would not be connected to any lobby. Now, another thing that I've noticed is that because a lot of players would go into the player list and they would see, oh, it says here that there are 90 people out of 100 or something along those lines in my lobby. So that means that it is rendering 100 other players in this instance of my camp. That was also not the case, because even though you can have 100 players in a single lobby, in your instance of the world, you will still only ever have 16 players. At least that appears to be the case. 16 players including yourself, so it will render your hunter plus another 15 hunters. So when it comes to rendering stuff visually, we're still looking at 16 player instances, but there's going to be a lot more players in the lobby. And you guys might be questioning, well, what's the purpose of that? And there's actually quite a couple of valuable reasons to have this. But before we get there, I want to address one thing that I've seen a lot of people talk about, which is a player sync issue. And this is something that people were reporting because they'd be like, oh, I can see this friend of mine, but for some reason, my friend can't see me, and we're both in the same lobby. Now, the reason this is happening is because, like I told you, there were potentially 100 players in a given lobby, but the game is only rendering 16 of them, and it is choosing those 16 players seemingly at random. That is why sometimes your friend would be able to see you, but you wouldn't be able to see them because the game just happened to pull your friend into the list of 16 players, but it didn't pull you into your friend's list of 16 players, and that's why you wouldn't be able to see each other. Now, does that mean that you are not going to be able to get together in the final version of the game if you join a public lobby? No. You're going to be able to invite your friend to a party, and then you can actually invite them into your environment, and I'm going to detail how those options are going to work, which is going to be particularly important for people that happen to try to play in a potential future beta, in case you're trying to get together with friends and you're struggling to understand the system a little bit. So, let's get things started. One of the first things that you want to do whenever you are starting multiplayer for any reason is you want to go to Alma. Now, Alma is going to have a lot of options there. So one of the first things that shows up is settings, optional quests, lobby member quests, link member quests, and SOS flare quests. So a lot of these are self-explanatory, so if you go to optional quests, you can post your own optional quests, and whenever you post a quest, that is going to become available to anyone in the lobby. If you go to lobby member quests, that is going to give you a list of quests that have been posted by anyone that is in that lobby. Any of those 100 players might have posted a quest, and you can join any of those quests in your lobby. And you might be wondering, why is this like a good thing when there's 100 players in there? It's going to be a complete mess. And I want you to keep in mind that when the final version of the game launches, I believe we're going to be able to create our own private lobbies. And you have to think of lobbies almost the same way that you would think of lobbies in Monster Hunter World. Usually you wouldn't just join a random lobby unless you were trying to get something done. Usually you would look for a very specific lobby. Like, one of the reasons that people would join lobbies would usually be for siege quests. So say you're trying to do your Call to Wrath, you want to join a Call to Wrath lobby. Say you're trying to do Extreme Oth, you want to join an Extreme Oth lobby. And there would always be that 16 player limit. However, this time around, that limit is going to be 100 players, so you can get together with up to 99 other people that want to do the same thing that you want to do. And this is going to enable you to basically have, whenever it came to Monster Hunter World, you'd be looking for a lobby and be like, okay, it's 14 out of 16. Let me see if I can join in. And you'd join in, and it would already be full. And you're like, okay, now I have to look for another one. You'd be like, okay, this one's 10 out of 16. And then you join, and it would actually mean that people were potentially done with the quest. So it was kind of frustrating, right? If you increase the number of players, there's going to be a higher chance of you finding an activity that you want to do, like maybe you want to go farm Raid Out, to give like just a random example, right? You can join a lobby that just says Raid Out Hunts. And so you join in there, and every single person that has joined that lobby is going to be interested in hunting Raidao. So the likelihood of you finding multiplayer partners for hunting Raidao is going to be significantly increased. And even if a bunch of those quests are already filled, there's a chance that somebody else will post the quest. Whereas before, because you only had that 16-player limit, the max you could ever have is 4 simultaneous quests running in a lobby. I mean, you could have more quests, but obviously that would mean that players would be more divided and it would be a little bit scattered. So having more players per lobby is actually a good thing when people want to follow a particular activity. And this is going to be particularly important if we happen to get raids or sieges, as we call them in Monster Hunter, right? Let's say you get a siege, like, oh, Safi Jiva is in town or whatever, and you're like, oh, let's all go do Safi Jiva. It'll be way easier to organize a raid for Safi Jiva because you can just join a lobby with potentially up to 100 people all trying to get Safi Jiva done. And maybe they can even do like specific objectives for whenever your lobby has a certain amount of people. There's a lot of potential for features that can appear there, but that's the reason why they want you to have up to 100 players per lobby. But again, you can also choose to do your smaller lobbies if that's something that you want to do. Now, as I was saying, if you go to lobby member quest, that will show all of the quests that have been posted by anybody in your lobby. If you go to link member quests, that is going to post quests that is going to show you quests that have been posted by members of your link party. And if you go to SOS Flare quests, obviously those are going to be the quests where people, I'm assuming in that lobby specifically, will have sent out an SOS. Although I don't know if SOS can potentially be a cross-lobby feature. I think that would actually make sense, but at the same time, I don't know if it might just not be a little bit too overwhelming. So that's a setting that I'm not entirely sure what developers want to do with. Now, before we move forward, I want to take us through the settings whenever you go up to Alma. Now, if you click the settings, you'll notice that we have something here that says max members. In my case, I put it down to 1 because I just wanted a solo hunt. So even if you're in a multiplayer lobby, you can choose to be hunting by yourself. And you might be like, well, why is this, a thing that I would want? Let's say you have a couple of friends that are trying out the game for the first time, but you're like doing your own thing. You're doing like an advanced hunt, but you want to be available to your friends. So you guys can join a link party, which I'm going to explain how to do in just a couple of seconds here. You can join a link party and you can be doing your own thing. And then your friend goes like, oh man, I really need help with this monster. And your friend will be able to invite you to go and help him. So you guys can be in a party, but each person can be doing their own thing. That's why you can set these settings down to 1, and then you can still join other people to play. But what this means is that whenever you're posting or starting quests, nobody can actually join you. You can also set it just to 2 hunters in case you only want to have 1 other random person join, or 3 hunters, whatever, that's your choice. Then there's also multiplayer settings in which you can choose to actually receive help from other players or just use support hunters. So this is for the people that want to play by themselves, and even though they might want to be in a multiplayer environment, they still want to be able to have access to the NPC hunters. You can just change the multiplayer setting to always just choose the other hunters. Now there's a setting here that says automatic SOS flare. I'm assuming that this means whenever you start a quest, you automatically shoot out a flare and it tries to summon other hunters in. Now by default, the multiplayer settings are going to try to bring in other players and then support hunters unless you change those multiplayer settings to only be support hunters. Then you have like a comment for whenever you post a quest and all of that stuff. And you have quest join settings, which means you can have auto accept or you can have them accept manually. So you'll have to approve anybody who accepts, set passcodes, platform permissions. This is in case you do not want to do cross-platform, because I know that there are some players that are like, I only want to play within my platform. That's fair. You can set that setting here and nobody else can join you. But yeah, this kind of like dictates how your quests are going to work. So that if you want to be in a lobby with randoms, but at the same time you only want to be playing with your friends, you guys can be in there and you can just set your own passcode and they can just join your stuff, and that's the way that it's going to go, right? So now, let's talk a little bit more about how the lobby situation is going to work and how you're going to be able to invite people into your link party. Now, lobbies are going to have IDs, and like I said, I believe that in the final game you'll be able to generate your own private lobbies and just do whatever you want. In the beta, we would just be assigned to a random lobby, and you guys can see that there's a lobby ID there in the corner. So with that ID, anybody can just join that lobby unless it happens to be a private lobby. As you can see, there's a lobby type there that says general lobby. I believe that that is going to be something that you'll be able to change, like private lobby, do stuff like that. And you can also set a bunch of different parameters there so that people know what you're doing, playstyle, questing, skill level, beginners, and a bunch of other things that you can do, right? So you can just do a bunch of settings there whenever you're creating these lobbies. But you get that and you can join the lobby as some of your friends or something like that. If you also notice on the player list, there's something there called the Hunter ID. So Monster Hunter Wilds is going to have its own friend system. It is not yet super clear how that is going to integrate with platform friend lists. So like your PlayStation friend list or your Steam friend list. I think that they're probably going to try to pull some stuff from there. But at the same time, they need to have their own system. And I know that a lot of people are going to be like, why do they need to have their own system? Why is this a thing? And the reason is because of crossplay. Monster Hunter Wilds is going to support crossplay, but this doesn't mean that Steam can just go and connect to somebody else's list on PlayStation. That's why you have these Hunter IDs. I'm actually surprised that they're not using Capcom ID for this, but basically you get your Hunter ID that works like a Nintendo friend code, right? So you can go and you can add somebody through that ID as a friend. Then once you add them as a friend, you can invite them to parties, you can invite them to quests, you can do everything that you can imagine you could do with a friends list, right? That's the whole point. Now, once you go ahead and you do this whole friend request thing, you guys are going to show up in each other's lists, and this is when you can start doing more interesting things like inviting to Link Party. Now, like I told you guys, the way that Link Party is going to work, you guys are going to be in a party, but it doesn't mean that you're always going to be in the same spot unless you choose to do so. So you can each be doing your own thing, and then you can just bring somebody into your environment, or they can bring you into their environment, which is actually called Environment Link. But that's the kind of like the way that it goes, right? You're going to add somebody through their Hunter ID, and then you're going to invite them to a Link Party. Link parties are limited to 4 players because, you know, it's the default hunting party size. And once you get however many people you want into your Link Party, you want to make sure that you invite them to your Environment Link. Now, one of the problems that I had during the beta was that for some reason the game automatically put me in a random Link Party, and then I wasn't able to invite people to my Link Party. So you'll want to make sure that if you are having problems inviting somebody to your Link Party, go to the social portion on the menu and then go to Link Party and do Leave Link Party, because you might already be in a Link Party and then the game doesn't let you invite somebody else. But once you do that, you should be able to invite your friends to a Link Party, and once you guys are in a Link Party, you are going to then be able to just invite all to Environment Link. And I know that this sounds like a bunch of stuff that you got to do, but whenever you invite people to your Environment Link, it just means that, okay, now we're all in the open world together, and we can just go do stuff. And the game keeps you together between quests, because otherwise, whenever you post a quest, your Link Party friends can join that quest, and then they can leave that quest, but they're not going to be in the open world with you once the quest ends. So you're going to have all of these different options as to how you can tackle. You can still play just like you used to play in the older games, where you do it on a per quest basis, or if you want to, you can invite people to your Environment Link and everybody's in the open world and you're all going to be hunting the monsters like you were doing one giant expedition. So if you want to go on a big hunt-a-thon, you want to invite people into your Environment Link, and then, you know, everybody just goes off and starts hunting monsters, and that's kind of like how the system works. Hopefully this helps you understand. I think that this system, even though it is a bit more complex than some of the systems we've had in the past, it's not rocket science. It's still just a multiplayer system, and this should pretty much clear most of the questions that you guys have. If you guys have specific questions, do leave those in the comment section down below. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. But this is kind of how things work. You can either go with people on a per quest basis by either inviting them or them looking for your quests, assuming that you guys are in the same lobby. So if you're in a Link Party, you can just go to Link Party member quests, which kind of filters things down to only the people in your party, or you can join, you know, quests out in that specific lobby and all of that good stuff, right? But then there's also the option, invite into Environment Link, and you're all in the open world, and you can just keep hunting forever, and the game will not separate you until you choose to do so. Now, the reason I actually like this system quite a bit is because it allows you to be doing your own thing while still being in party with a friend that might need a little bit of guidance, because usually that always ends up being the case, right? Whenever you're trying to bring a new friend into Monster Hunter, they're going to need a little bit more hand-holding to kind of like get them through some of the initial hurdles and the complexities of the game. And I think that this is the perfect like mentorship system where you can be like, oh, I'm going to be doing my own thing. You go play in the baby pool here for a little bit, and then if you need help, just call me and I'll come in and I'll help you out, and then I'll go back. And it's just a really cool system, but it is a little bit more complex. Might take a little bit longer for us to get used to it. But anyways, that's going to be it for now. This is how the multiplayer system is going to work. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section down below. I'm very curious to hear from everyone, and hopefully we'll get another beta so that those of you that maybe had some difficulties playing with friends will be able to do so in the next beta. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, notification icon, all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.